elected to the International Rifeson Union Board, IRU Germany, the oldest cooperative union in the world. She is the global facilitator, World Farmers Organization Working Group on Cooperatives Rome.
The material resources are equally distributed in our society. Our ideas, therefore, come with the same inequalities embedded within them. It is, after all, the conditions of our existence that determine our consciousness.
Yet it is consciousness that motivates us to uproot rather than uphold oppressive social structures. We focus our attention to arguably the most visible of these oppressive structures, the patriarchy. We bring to you Dr. Nandini Azad, a fierce champion in our fight towards dismantling the patriarchy. She is a world-renowned feminist icon. Please welcome her with a huge round of applause.
Very much for this wonderful, great opportunity to be with such committed, progressive men and women. Thank you very much, your feminist club, and many other of your organizations within the institution. Good evening to you all.
Good evening.
It is a joyful and privileged occasion for us to come all the way from Chennai headquarters, spending 3 days on the travel, to wish you on behalf of the Working Women's Forum and the Indian Cooperative Network for Women, to share with you the journey of how our women's cooperative is enabling very poor women in the informal sector in India to participate constructively and effectively towards sustainable growth and development. You saw what our members looked like. Over 90% of India's poor women are in the informal sector, contributing to the national economy. Yet we don't all see them. You buy fruits, vegetables, fish from them, but you don't hear them. They are powerless, invisible, low-paid, unregulated, low-skilled. They have no bargaining power, no investment capacities, and trade unions to support them. But with the coming of the Working Women's Forum and the Indian Cooperative Network for Women in South India, particularly the states of Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Karnataka, and Tamil Nadu, we began working with very poor women from 1978-81. And we have 14 locations, and we are moving towards half a century working, developing, and contributing to the nation. Our members are engaged in 267 occupations: services, manufacturing, trading, as well as production. They are in fish, flour, vegetable selling, idli making, snacks, farming, poultry, lace making, and hockey. They represent a very difficult convergence of class, caste, and gender that create very untenable social conditions of living with them. The issue comes, what happens to a woman who comes from the lowest caste if she is very poor and any oppressive situation? How can she access justice? But our grassroots women have demonstrated they can cope and recover from any shock or disaster through our new model of development called the Gender and Equity Model, based on gender. Through this model, we have disbursed 500 crore Indian rupees, starting with nearly 25,000 rupees, which are shares from these very poor women, $5 billion US dollars in petty loans with a very high repayment. Our outcomes have been in the within the framework of the Sustainable Development Goals: 1, poverty; 5, gender equity; 9, innovative infrastructure; 13 and 14, oceans. Our members are not surviving today as they were 43 years ago. They are thriving and leading the charge for gender equity and social justice, not waiting for anybody to give them that. I've been engaged with this movement since I was 13. And I started work training fisherwomen in the coast of Tamil Nadu, Adiramapatnam. Over years, I've seen firsthand the transformative power of the movement. I'm honored to lead them as an elected president. There are many stories to tell, but I can share some with you. You'll get an idea how these women are shaping the cooperative movement, and hopefully they will need a lot of support from the policymakers, both in the country and outside, to shape it further. Here is a random story of Padmavati. It's not specific, it's not selective. She comes from the silk city of Kanchipuram. Through her journey, we can see the power of gender equity and asset creation. Any one of you can do this. Before joining the ICNW, Padmavati was a mother of 3. She got no cash wages, but finger millet wages. Ragi we call it in the south, Madua we call it in the north. As her husband did, no cash. And no lunch, because the early morning gruel is what she gave to her children and she. About 75% of women workers in this country in agriculture are wage workers. Only 8% own land. Through our gender sensitization, continuous credit, training, mentoring, we have taught women to confront patriarchy and provide them the tools, apart from awareness, to create assets and entrepreneurial opportunities that promote gender equality, such as land, livestock, and credit. Padmavati met an ICNW organizer and she got her first loan of 1,400. The second loan, she bought herself a bullock at 3,000. She had prior experience in ploughing. Her third loan of 6,900, she rented out the bullock, buying another one. She got 1,000 from the bullock ploughing and she got 500. I'm talking about a complete wage earner, no land, no asset. And this is what we would call diversified income, wage work, bullock ploughing. With the savings from her profit, she leased a point of farming. She was a wage earner again. Later in the 7th cycle of 50,000, she bought a 5-cent farmland. From being a wage earner, she became owning land. What an important thing. And growing cereals, grains, vegetables using organic manure. We use compost pits, we use vermicompost because we believe that it is women who are very close to climate change and the soil. So we used compost pits by utilizing animal dung, vermicompost using worms. Through her leadership training, Padmavati became more aware. She questioned her husband about the market price and profits. Since the land was on her name, a point of producer ownership, he had refused to divulge it to her. She began making decisions on crop selection, selling the product, and carrying it in her bullock cart. You saw a photograph where an old woman is running a bullock cart and taking her produce. So she was operating her own business and making profits on the way. Multi-strategies of the organization, 38% of our members, these very poor wage-earning members, own land on their own name. The women own land on their own name. So from being landless, I won't say they are landowners, but they are moving towards ownership of land, which is the redistribution. If the government does it, it's okay. If anybody else is okay. But financial inclusion by the WWF and ICNW are giving these women land. They now have a greater say in decision making and transforming landless wage-earning women. ICNW's gender awareness and leadership training on socio-economic and legal rights have empowered leaders to become local community leaders rather than merely produce their earnings for our cooperative. We live from hand to mouth. Padmavati educated her children. Her son wanted to go out to work. She said, why don't you compound our profits? Now her entire family is actively working on her farmland. Women-led development. This is women-led development at the ground. By the 15th loan, she had bought a quarter acre of land with a 450,000 loan. She brought 2 more cows, gave it to her daughter-in-law and said, produce milk. Why not only Amul, but you too. And fodder, agriculture waste. This is an example how ICNW increases bargaining power and diversifies markets. Padmavati's story is a testament to the power of gender equity and asset creation. It shows what is possible when we invest in women and give them the tools they need to succeed and the opportunities. Women are without opportunities in this country and therefore they are not able to contribute as much as they can come. This is a very good model that can be taken around the world to the communities for shaping not only the lives of women but very poor. We have one more dimension to this model called the accumulation at the base model. So not only I'm giving you empirical evidence, but I'm also telling how we can model it economically. In the first stage, she moved away when she took her loans from indebtedness, because that is the worst thing where they're paying exorbitant rate of interest and the moneylender takes their blood. Through continuous care, she learned about the causes of poverty. So we teach her what is poverty. We teach her what is gender violence. and also gender myths and class through creative training. That is what I have been involved with over these years. In creative training, skits, pictorial charts, role plays, skill simulation exercises from 1981 when I worked with fisherwomen. Then Padmavati diversified her enterprises, farming, cattle, bullocks, business, renting bullocks, and improved her family's food security from one meal, no lunch, 3 meals a day, egg, greens, nutrition, because she has helped with that. Then she got her housing straightened up, the roof, the site. So therefore, when Planning Commission talks to me or Niti Aayog about growth, this is growth. This is micro growth. So this is not whatever. Stage 3, she created assets, land, bullocks, cow and a borewell. What else does she need? And improved the education sanitation. Also, growth means creating employment for 3 other women in the village. So, from being a wage earner, she did that. Finally, the model empowered 4 women like Padmavati to become leaders and decision makers in their communities, putting the most vulnerable first. Today, thanks to this model, many of our 14 cooperative entities, it is fish sellers, flower sellers, who are office bearers of the cooperative entities, not the educated or the elite. Padmavati is not a standalone case. I'll tell you about Saroja. She's a widower and a marginal farmer in Kanchipuram. She had a poultry farm on her land from her own savings, but it suffered great losses due to market imperfections and fluctuating prices of farm inputs and severe competition. Also, her chicken were prone to diseases. Processing chicken feed was difficult for her. The pandemic was a death blow. But the ICNW continued to give her loans from 4,000 to 40,000, 16 loans. And technical knowledge on chicken feed, market and care for diseased chicken. She grew chicken feed on a small parcel of her land now. The rest was used for poultry. No time she was self-sustaining. The chicken waste was used as organic manure for mango trees on her farm and also sold to some farm owners. So you see the power of diversification, coping that poor women have, that we say that we facilitate them, we don't teach them because they have the indigenous knowledge. The micro-level analysis of these cases shows you the gender inequity model that enables organizing and mobilizing poor women in formal sectors to finance. The pandemic resulted in disruption of global value chains and globalized supply chains, which adversely affected inclusion and equalities. Cooperatives like us helped women members deal with such challenges effectively by enabling them to become stakeholders of global value chains. My third story for you illustrates this. Here is this remarkable group of 5 fisherwomen from Adirampatnam branch on the coast of Tamil Nadu. They created their own supply chain during the pandemic, eliminating the middlemen and the auctioneers, the exploiters. With the help of the cooperative, they invested in fishing nets, cooperatives, fishing nets, catamaran boats and other assets. Meaning once they had the assets for their husbands, it became a family productive asset. From this support, they caught fish directly in the sea, they auctioned, they sold, controlling the market. Some will sell in the market, some on the streets as set holders, some of them processing the fish, and they began controlling the project. Just 26 loan cycles. From 400 rupees they started to 25,000. So therefore, at this time of the pandemic, the cooperative continued to sustain to help them. Even if they hadn't finished an installment, we continued. And this is what we want. Not the government banks asking for a moratorium. Our poor women never ask for a moratorium because the cooperative is their mother's house. So they had to sustain it for it to survive. They said, can you reschedule it for 3 months? So it is important, few lessons. One, we need organized farming. Because marginal workers in the developing world, they are vulnerable to sudden shocks. You have the war now, you have another COVID coming up. They can go back to abject poverty and survival, but you have this infrastructure which mentors them. Second is access to continuous finance, credited for promoting diversification. Third issue is linking farm produce to markets. That is important. Small unorganized farmers are vulnerable to market fluctuations. Organized cooperatives like us can confront such imperfections effectively and efficiently, taking a proactive role in achieving the global agenda of sustainable and resilient food systems. Last but not least, organized farming will invite investments, promote diversification based on market requirement, and enable farmers to become a stakeholder in the global value chains. Now let me turn to our amazing green warrior experiences. providing nutritious and affordable food for a growing global population, while preserving biodiversity and ecosystems is a major challenge. Our ICNW societies care about their members, the community and the environment. We respond to the environmental deterioration. They are using organic manure, creating organic manure compost pits by promoting soil preservation and waste management, and by practicing Ayurveda, the science of plants. I said at COP27, humankind needs the defense of Ayurveda to defend ourselves, not war. After the pandemic, we are starting a new climate financing pipeline. You're basically a young audience, and what I say will anguish you. To know that in the informal sector, the most disadvantaged are the very young women. You can hardly find entrepreneurs below 30 in our group. And our recent study reveals they are late starters because of early marriage, continuous reproductions, and collateral requirements. We don't take husband's guarantee or collateral. They have to cope with all this. Many poor women entrepreneurs and their husbands have no education, many of them alcoholics. For us, gender violence is a very important thing because that saps the productivity of women. So we have a product in microfinance called gender-based violence product, the only one in the world where high-collar Swiss bankers will shun. But now they listen to me back in Germany and on all the whole global tables. So here is an example of Shanmuga Priya, who was a flower seller. She failed. She joined her husband, a fisher, a laborer, who was always failing in his business. Both together started it over and took 8 loan cycles. So from moving from fish to crab, they started holding on to crab, directly selling and buying. Guess what? They became exporters to Singapore in 8 loans. So this was a very young woman. So small shifts in their vocation resulted in improving their household income. Monisha is another one. She's a 24-year-old. 20 years ago, her grandmother became a member of the WWF ICNW, her aunt and her mother. She started an onion business and then took more loans, 5 loans, and expanded it to vegetable. But she was doing evening school. She paid for fees there. And what is she today? A physiotherapist. So it is possible, it is absolutely possible that if you can give them the support system, that this is possible. I should like to emphasize that the livelihood of poor women we do by targeting responsible investments in their business with our integrated inputs, continuous loans, capacity building, mentoring in gender awareness, as well as diversification of business and promotion of custody of income. We tell the women they have to keep the income, not to give it to any other members of the family who are alcoholic or there's wife beating, etc. During the pandemic, we started the new digital financial literacy movement, where we trained 65 CEOs and branch managers in digital financial literacy and financial inclusion in local language, in Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, not English. These women leaders are now well capacitated to deliver training to help our women miners. They learned about digital transactions, NEFT, UPI payments, which practically helped them during the COVID. Also, would be interesting for you to know we are digitalized. 23 years ago we are digitalized. There's so much hoo-ha now. But we wanted to be transparent. And the people who are doing it, we have a software unit run by engineers, but also young girls who come from labor and coolie families and fisher families in each of our 14 cooperatives. Please come to see, come to learn, come to skill. During the pandemic, we also had a Founders Day Award celebrated on the birthday of our late founder, Dr. Jaya Arunachalam, called the Corona Warriors Micro Entrepreneur Awards. It was, first of all, we shortlisted 1,500 members who in 10 to 37 years never defaulted their loans. Never. Can you think of all the rich and corporate groups that this can happen? They never defaulted. And many of them have transformed their lives from rupees 200. Their children are engineers, their children are doctors, MBAs, nurses, and so forth. From 200 rupees, it is possible. None have asked for moratoriums, as I said, just 3 months. The voices of these incredible women workers from the informal sector are now being heard on the global high tables. And their achievements are being recognized by the United Nations, the UN Commission on the Status of Women, and the Commission on Social Development. We have become a regular presence at the major UN events over the last 2-3 years. Maybe we are the only cooperative worldwide who has been present. We have 27 years of UN consultative status. Yet their achievements have not gone unnoticed. I noticed that you mentioned that we were the first woman in 50 years to join the board of the International Raiffeisen Union, Swiss banks, German banks, the Raiffeisen Bank, the Rabo Bank, the first woman. So therefore, this is the oldest cooperative union in the world. Also, global facilitators for the World Farmers Organization on cooperatives. We have also garnered the attention of world leaders. As the former Secretary of State, Madam Hillary Clinton, Queen Juliana of the Netherlands visited us. Mrs. Clinton even visited us for 1 hour at our headquarters to interact with these incredible women and admire their entrepreneurship. Our poor women cooperatives have become world leaders and now convene the International Network for Women in Cooperatives by inviting other powerful women cooperators worldwide to practice. So these poor women are calling all those other women in mixed cooperatives who are being hit hard by patriarchy. Come join, see our success, learn from us. What an amazing thing that the grassroots is calling the globe. Their journey has been remarkable and their success is a testament to their resilience and determination. They have overcome them with grit and perseverance, and now their voices and achievements are being celebrated on a global scale, like you are, inspiring women everywhere to pursue their dreams and break down. At the Asia Pacific Regional Ministers Conference, I was asked to present a status paper on 18 countries, women in cooperatives. This helped them reserve, the ministers reserved 33% for women in all cooperatives. We need to do it in our country, and I think our joint parliamentary country we have recommended is trying to bring 33%, because otherwise in mixed cooperatives, men don't allow women to come up. I am confident that our success stories will motivate all stakeholders, people like you. You are the future, you are the young. I'm sure you'll do it, and I believe you're a very committed group of people. We have well-developed vision based on goals of ownership. Together this will ensure efficiency, inclusiveness, and an ability to deliver quality services to other poor women. It is a challenge for all of us as I conclude, not just shaping lives, but changing the world. Not only shaping lives, but changing the world. I saw the finance minister yesterday on the television along with the head of the World Bank, and they call it Shaping the World. That was the title. So I call this, that coming to young people, that we not have only to shape lives, but by shaping lives we have to change the world, to create a future where every woman, regardless of her background or circumstance, has the opportunity to thrive and succeed. Do join us. Do join us on this journey toward a more gender equitable world, and walk with us. Work with us, shoulder to shoulder, men and women, as we shape the world gender equitable world. Thank you very much, TEDx. Thank you very much, IIIT. Thank you very much, and namaste.
காலம் மாறி போச்சு நம் கண்ணீர் மாறி போச்சு நாளை நல்ல நாளை